So why do therapy clients in Kelowna struggle to follow mental health protocols despite really wanting that change? It's the gap that breaks every practitioner's heart. Clients arrive motivated, their eyes full of hope, swearing that this time they're ready for change. They're fed up with the way that things have been and they're excited for a better tomorrow. Weeks later though, crickets, excuses, repeated setbacks, all of which lead to minimal or almost no changes at all. This then leads to discouragement and a stopping or a slowing of treatments. And then clients find themselves in the same position yet again. I would like change. And therapists like myself left with questions like, did I fail my client? They must not care. If only they tried a little bit harder. Was it the messaging, etc.? So this video will attempt to uncover some of the hidden and not so hidden reasons that clients want change but then can't sustain it. From nervous system rebellion, shame spirals, to rigged environments and more. I think that this video could be helpful for clients, for other Kelowna therapists, or just quite a few of the allied health professionals who are ready to stop blaming non-compliance and start designing protocols that actually stick. They say they want it, but their brain rebels. The real culprit is that the brain is hardwired to protect the old and the importantly familiar identity and habits, which although they might not be so helpful or counterproductive, this identity feels, again, familiar, comfortable, safer than the unknown, healthy version of themselves they're attempting to mold or change into. The nervous system defaults to the status quo, favoring certainty and safety over uncertain growth. The old identity feels like home. The new one triggers this response. And this change threatens their emotional stability, not just their habits. It seems counterproductive and illogical, and that is true. And that is how the brain works. Essentially, it's better to exist with the devil that one knows than the devil that one doesn't. Clients might find thoughts such as this coming into play. What happens if fixing this thing and all the effort that goes into that is just the tip of the iceberg, and I need to invest more time or money or energy down the line? Well, I don't want to do that, so why bother starting anyway? But everything is a risk. Even health changes with positive intentions. Time, energy, both physical and emotional, money, and there's never a guarantee that these things will work out. And there's this aspect of, what if they try and then fail, and now they have no hope? As long as they stay in this uncomfortable limbo, there's still a little bit of hope for a better future if they were to do X, Y, Z. But if they did it and failed, the hope, where's the hope? The invisible script running their life, unconscious rules or paradigms formed years ago. I'm not disciplined. I always fail. These thoughts and just beliefs and views, world views, and how they go and approach the world about situations, relationships, they silently override every protocol, thinking, emotional, or behavioral change. Until that script is exposed and rewritten, lasting change stays impossible. These scripts often operate below awareness and sabotage conscious goals. Life experiences create these "I'm not the type" beliefs. Protocols clash with their identity, and identity will almost always win that fight. Perhaps that old way was correct, and it was exactly what they needed at that point in time in their life, given their circumstances. There was a truth to it back then, but now that paradigm or that belief, does it still serve them in getting to their goals into the future? And if not, what can be done to either entirely or directionally make those thoughts or behaviors a bit more helpful? Misalignment is the real barrier. You can have the thought, you can have the emotion, but if the behavior doesn't line up with both, the change isn't going to stick. Most therapy clients in Kelowna want to follow through on health protocols. They have good intentions and they have strong feelings about getting better. Yet when these thoughts, emotions, and behaviors pull in different directions, progress is going to stall. Thoughts might say, I should meditate, but emotions feel overwhelming or unworthy. Emotions might want some calm, but behaviors keep choosing distraction. Actions might happen without emotional buy-in or clear thought, so they fade fast. Doing only one or two out of the three rarely works. Real lasting change needs all three of these components of a person working together towards the same goal. But the good news is that you don't have to have perfect alignment. You can learn to negotiate with yourself, with these different parts of yourself. And when your head, heart, and hands start working together and talking instead of fighting. Following through becomes possible again. One small, honest conversation at a time. When being overwhelmed is a barrier, one change feels doable, easy maybe, but 6 protocols at once, the brain hits shutdown. Clients fail not from a lack of willpower, but from too much change coming from too many directions all at the same time. There's no focus, or it makes it very difficult to focus on one thing. So too many of these simultaneous changes threaten the capacity for change. There's only so much energy and time that someone has to give to change. Overwhelm may masquerade as laziness or forgetfulness. Habitual micro changes excel where large stackings of changes often fail. Simplicity is often the best for many things. It's getting back to the basics. And there is a time and place for stability and for a soaking in of protocols and changes to a person's life, their thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. Having a multitude of changes can become the very reason that they don't do any of them. Almost like a snake eating itself type of thing is the imagery that I have. It's trying to change and chase the next thing, but it's just spinning its tires. It's not going anywhere. And ultimately, this failure adds to the list of things that they're no good at, which then can often be applied to the whole individual. I am a no good person. So one thing at a time, simple as simple does. And it's okay to take a step back, or even 2 or 3. It's okay to take a step or 2 back at time, and even to stay there for a little bit. Recollect yourself, zoom out. It's all relative. Fear disguised as forgetfulness. I forgot is rarely a memory issue. It's a fear of becoming the person who actually succeeds. Each notch along the change cycle or the path threatens that familiar, comfortable self. Success anxiety is a real thing, and it triggers self-sabotage to restore safety. Missed check-ins might equal a subconscious self-protection, and a fear of the unknown future self blocks action. It's the fear of the amount of exertion lasting for life. And heck, it's uncomfortable to change. It is. I get it. As a health practitioner, we know that the first few weeks and months that a client initiates a change are the most difficult for them. At this point in time, each time that a client attempts to do the new thing, it's still a decision for them. Habits haven't been formed. It's not easy or routine because of a quite literal lack of habituation. And so making these small decisions every day takes increased time, energy, and effort. It's that constant pushing that at least some part of us wants to forget. But how can you find enjoyment in the pushing? Finding a meaning to pursue is part of the push. The client's environment is sabotaging them. Perfect advice meets a kitchen full of junk, a calendar packed with triggers, or social circles that reward old habits. Behavior will follow the environment until surroundings vote for the protocol. And so this whole time, clients are fighting against a rigged game. It's not in their favor. Home, work, relationships, digital cues, all silently vote against change. One of the most significant things a client can do is a environmental redesign. It'll beat willpower every single time. And the context of someone's life shapes a large portion of their daily decisions. What's the easy path forward here? As practitioners, we rarely have the chance to change a client's environment, but we can point out things that seem helpful or unhelpful towards their goals. And when something isn't so helpful, we can see if the client is willing to do what they can to change that in their life. But if something is set in stone, or a client is unwilling to change this thing about their life, how might we move forward or around or with this obstacle? There may very well be, and often is, constraints to the system, things that are unchangeable, and these must be accepted and worked with. But let's do as best as we can to make it as helpful as we can, shall we? Motivation is a liar. Identity wins. Motivation is going to evaporate by Tuesday. Identity endures. Clients who see themselves as the person who tries but quits will prove that story right every single time. It's one thing to want to change and to see it, but relying solely on desire often leads to struggles to find lasting motivation to find the change. Motivation is fleeting. Identity is permanent. Shifts like I want to be healthy to I am a healthy person helps protocols become more automatic. But so how do you help encourage this shift from desire to being? Identify values, their intentions. When values and intentions line up, that old "I want to" story quietly fades and a new "I am" story is able to take its place. Thoughts, emotions, actions finally start working together. Desire becomes identity. Wanting becomes being, one aligned choice at a time. Perfectionism, the silent saboteur, pardon my French. They miss one day or falter even slightly and declare the entire protocol done. It's no good. This all or nothing thinking turns tiny slips into total failure, guaranteeing that they quit. Perfectionism links directly to shame and dropout. One imperfect meal becoming "I failed the whole diet." Imperfect consistency will always beat perfect failure. Rather, imperfect consistency will always beat perfect quitting. So shame on clients for not being perfect. When a client comes in and say that they did not follow their protocol, and they look away shortly after saying it, oh, you already know that they feel poorly about themselves, so what's tacking on a little more, huh? How about encouraging them in the fact that it stayed on their mind to begin with? I'm sure there are lots of opportunities where they failed, and they remembered. Ask them about those moments and dig into them. There will certainly be learnings and an increasing of the depth of their circumstances and their context. So thank you for failing, but for coming back too. The shame spiral that nobody talks about. Every failure or time when a client didn't perfectly follow their protocol and their health slid backwards, or a period of stagnation, can stack a sense of shame for some clients. You or me as the practitioner are now another person that they've let down. And shame kills action. Clients ghost you, they stop reporting, they stop trying. Not because they don't care, but because facing you feels like a direct confrontation with their own worthlessness. So shame leads to avoidance, leads to more shame, leads to a complete and utter disengagement. Perfectionism can be a shame armor in a sense. Compassion breaks the cycle, and judgment will fuel it. This shame spiral doesn't have to keep going. When it's met with compassion in a judgment-free zone, this cycle starts to lose its power. They don't trust themselves anymore. Years of broken promises to themselves have completely eroded their sense of self-trust. This new protocol is just another item on the "I'll probably quit it" list. Rebuilding small, but most importantly, kept promises is more important than anything else. Low self-efficacy will often predict non-adherence. Self-trust amplifies behavioral change, and small wins rebuild the muscle of belief in oneself. In a familiar space with a relationship built on trust, piece by piece, the client can finally let go of the heavy weight of "I've let everyone or myself down again," and begin to rebuild trust, leaning on the support of both your personal and professional relationships along the way. Clients are stuck in either the pre-contemplation or the contemplation stage of the trans-theoretical model of change. Many clients will say that they want change, but they're in these early stages of change, or even unaware that they even necessarily want to change. They're unaware or ambivalent. No protocol is going to work until they move into preparation, until they're ready for some sort of change and looking for it. It's critically important, as myself as a therapist, to not only recognize when someone is at one stage or another and to think that I have it all right, but it's also very important to ask the client, do you think this is something that you'd be willing to do? When someone's in a pre-contemplative stage, it's what problem? They're not there yet. If they're in the contemplation stage, they might be weighing some pros and cons quite heavily, but again, they're not ready to initiate and put in some time, effort, energy, what have you. Jumping into action without matching that stage almost always will guarantee dropout. And this follows the age-old idiom of you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. Clients are the experts of their own lives, and if someone is not in a position to change, it can be exhausting or even downright unethical as a therapist to try and compel them to do so. And as a therapist, it's been presented to me a bunch of times, both in professional or formal research and in lived experience, that it's best to not work harder than your client. Now, this doesn't mean that should a client not be ready for change, that I would cease contact until they are, but rather as a professional, I'm going to be meeting them where they're at and walking alongside them, not pulling them behind me. Ambivalence as the hidden tug of war. They want the result and they want to stay the same. They're caught in between the discomfort of change and the discomfort of staying in the situation, wanting to have their cake and eat it too, to a degree. Motivational interviewing exists because this internal conflict is completely normal and must often be resolved first, prior to real change taking place. So this ambivalence means there's a simultaneous desire and resistance. Motivational interviewing resolves this, or attempts to, by evoking the client in change talk. However, it should be noted that direct confrontation and too much disputation often will lead to resistance. You're kind of nudging up against resistance, pulling back a bit, inquiring, dancing a little bit in the conversation. So why do they want to change? What do they want to change? What's getting in the way? Do you trust yourself to see the change through? Why should you? Lack of client autonomy kills their intrinsic drive. When these protocols feel forced, it's the counselor's orders. Clients are going to rebel. They don't have any personal buy-in. Self-determination theory highlights that supporting client autonomy and letting them choose the pieces that they're willing to pick up and work with dramatically improves adherence. And it's not about letting the client do whatever they want, but again, as said before, it's meeting them where they're at, what they're willing to do. Autonomy, competence, and relatedness are non-negotiable needs. Asking what feels possible for you instead of dictating. Competing priorities and present bias. Future health feels abstract. Today's stressors, cravings, or deadlines feel immediate. Present bias will make short-term comfort win almost every single time. It's human nature. It takes effort to change. Often as humans, we like to see a 2-to-1 reward to risk ratio to initiate change. This is why, as a Kelowna therapist, I often will like to find a 2 birds, 1 stone situation. How can doing this satisfy a couple of your desires for change in one action or in one thought, perhaps? Humans discount future rewards heavily. The immediate pain of change seems a lot worse than the distant benefit of health. This can be extraordinarily helpful. It's making the healthy choice or choices as easy as possible. And even having some in there that, while it might be somewhat trivial in the long term, some small wins, some small ways that they can feel that things are improving. They can see it today. It's not next month. Social and family sabotage. Spouses, friends, co-workers, either consciously or unconsciously, undermine a client's progress because it shakes up the group dynamic that client is a part of. Support systems must be either aligned or, at the very least, not get in the way of health changes, or they risk becoming barriers themselves. They say a person is the average of the 5 people that they spend the most time with, and you are a part of another person's group of 5, and they might not want to change. And so when they see that you are changing for the better, it might make them uncomfortable or see some of their own faults in themselves. And at that point in time, they may either intentionally or unintentionally work against the client. Social norms or peer pressure will override and overpower or overwhelm personal goals. Family meals, social events become landmines. It's always helpful to try and bring that client's social circle and the key people in their life into the protocol or into their plan for change. Or perhaps they might be met with resistance. The knowledge gap and the behavior gap. Clients may often know exactly what to do, yet still don't do it. Information alone never creates change. Emotion, identity, behavior, and environment. And there's certainly a time and a place for more information about a situation. And there is a time where action is the best next step. I'll often ask clients as a Kelowna therapist, what do you need right now? Do you need more time to research your options, figure things out, resource yourself? Or do you want to make a plan of action and see it through? Start doing some of these things. Education is necessary, but it's never going to be sufficient. And so with that, this ends my little video highlighting some of the reasons why clients, why some clients just, they come in and their eyes are filled with hope. They're looking forward to changes. And then they come back in a week or two and things are the same. And this isn't to say that I do my best to not pressure clients for change, but if they're coming in and they want to see change, I want to make sure that they're getting their money's worth. And there's 1,000,001 reasons why sometimes it's hard for a person to initiate some of these changes, but it's meeting them where they're at. It's like, it's okay that didn't work out. It's okay that you were 99% confident, even 100% confident you'd be willing to try something, and then it didn't work out for you. The time and the moment in time that we talked about came and went, and you reverted back or just stayed the same with the old behaviors that you're really frustrated by, or annoyed by, or disappointed in yourself with. It's okay. There's so many reasons why a person will struggle. Like, otherwise, if it were easy, everybody would have these perfect, optimal lives, and it's not the case. Living a good life is difficult. Living a good life that's good for you is difficult. And everybody's gonna have their own unique strains and parts of the process that they find difficult or completely exhausting, terrifying, and it's all just part of the process. And so, yeah, as you go about changing for the better, I wish you the best of luck. And as always, if you're here in Kelowna or British Columbia, I'm a therapist here in town, and if you'd like some support as you pursue either a more meaningful path, or you're faced with a very important decision and you're kind of stuck in this limbo, please reach out. I'd be honored to help you with that. Thank you.